Familiar faces return in this Italian post-apocalyptic classic, featuring slow-moving dune buggy chases, a procrastinating archer, an abundance of see-through plastics, and a scene I really don't want to talk about. We watched The New Barbarians, today on...
The f*** is this?
We'll never get that.
But whatever, it's just the two of us today, so...
Building castles in the sky. Just the two of us. Did you get an opportunity to see that Borat sequel yet?
Yeah, I did.
The ending credits of that, they have this gypsy marimba band do a cover of Just the Two of Us. That song was stuck in my head for like a full month. I would wake up to Just the Two of Us, with the tuba in the background. I need to get it into a little more gypsy punk bands, because there's Go-Go Bordello, and then that's like the one famous one. I'm sure there's a lot more. It's a genre that's begging to be tapped and exploited.
You say that one is the famous one, and I've never heard of them in my life. So, yeah.
You've never heard of Wanderlust King? Ay!
That is a bit of a blind spot to me. Sorry,
Well, educate yourself. And while you're educating yourself, hello, however you wish to self-identify, and welcome back to The Fuck Is This? Where we dive through DVD bins, sort through streaming apps to find the weird, the bizarre, and the unloved. I'm gonna do one more take of that without the giant inhale, because I felt weird about that. Welcome back, however you wish to self-identify, to The Fuck Is This? Where we dive through DVD bins and sort through streaming apps to find the weird, the bizarre, and the unloved.
You want to try that one third and final time, or do we just want to get 2020 over with here?
I was fine with that one, but you sort of interrupted me in the middle of that, so you know what? What the hell? Welcome back, however you wish to self-identify, to The Fuck Is This? Where we dive through DVD bins, sort through streaming apps to find the weird, the bizarre, and the unloved. I'm your host, Cass Lascar, and join me always is my co-host, Jameson Rafter.
What's up, everyone?
Hey, how you doing? Great. And welcome to our final episode of 2020. Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying, no fucking breathless opening for me. I want to keep it short and
slow and steady. That's how Jameson wins every race. That's fine, because that's our dynamic. I'm like the high energy one. You're like the cool guy.
Thank you.
What's our pop culture demographic? Who's like
our audience age group? Or?
No, I don't know. Like who represents us in I don't know why. Like the first thing that pops to mind is Riggs and Murtaugh.
We're both
You're
white guys.
You're the Murtaugh of the group.
Oh, because I'm getting too old for this shit? Okay.
And
you're famed anti-Semite, Mel Gibson.
Yes, I have unfortunate opinions on people of a secular nature. I'm going to get off of that train.
Sadly, you kind of put me on the spot. I can't think of any pop culture, duos that I think we would subscribe to. Probably the Dumb and Dumber guys.
You somewhat resemble a young Jeff Daniels.
Yep, I'm the blonde guy, you're the brunette guy. Yep.
I've never looked like Jim Carrey a day in my life, but hey, if you're listening out there and have a good pop culture demographic that Jameson and I can easily fit into, write in at our email address, which I've never mentioned on the show before, and I don't remember what the address is right now, but I will edit it in here, tfitpodcast@gmail.com. Hey, so send all of your suggestions as to what pop culture demographic, and also send in your fan art as well. Let's get some
fan art going in here.
See all draw us in a variety of different ways.
Yeah, no Rule 34 though. Fuck, now we just opened the door wide open for nothing but Rule 34, didn't I?
It is the internet, of course.
Lovely.
Everyone, I will give you a separate email address where you can send the Rule 34 to. It'll be my email address. You can just send that directly to me. Thank you very much. Jameson.
Yes.
It's our last episode of the year. Somehow, we did it.
You know what? Not to fucking, pat ourselves on the back or anything, but I am very proud of the fact that we managed to get, an entire year's worth of episodes out the door this year.
You know what this is?
Is
the microphone picking this up? That is the sound of me literally patting myself on the back. You know what? It's fine. Do it. It's okay. It's an accomplishment. And this year in particular, every minor accomplishment is a major accomplishment at this point. Did you get out of bed? That's an accomplishment. Did you put 2 things away? Pat yourself on the back for that. 2020 is the year we all deserve a nice, long pat on the back for just...
Everyone gets a participation award for this year.
Just fucking living.
But yeah, I'm quite proud that, once everything went into lockdown for us here in BC in March, we never really lost stride with our updates and our putting out new episodes and finding a way to make it work. 2 fucking amateurs over here who have never done this sort of thing before. We managed to never break stride. We kept bringing guests back. We stayed on with our themes of WrestleMania and the 2 months of Halloween stuff. We were in and out of of like the exciting recording studio when the opportunities came and went. No, this was a pretty good year for year 2 of a podcast.
Talked about not breaking our stride. Not only did we not break our stride, I believe we recorded 2 more episodes than we did last year. So our stride actually improved. We were actually able to get even more out than we were
good on us.
last year.
And aren't you happy to have stumbled upon us, lucky listener? Has it been worth it? Have we been a source of comfort for you this whole year?
This is the self-flagellation episode where we just talk the entire time about how great we are and what a good podcast we put out and what quality streaming content.
I mean, somebody has to sing our praises. It's not going to be anyone else.
And so this is our last episode of 2020, so sort of as a parallel, a bookend, or some sort of attempt to create a new tradition, because you mentioned the traditions. Last year, for the last episode of the year, we watched an Italian B movie that was called 2019, After the Fall of New York, and we picked that because it was the ending of 2019, and it seemed relevant, but as such, we decided for the last episode of this year, and maybe the last episode for every year for as long as we decide to continue to do this, we're going to continue with the trend of watching Italian B movies. So, Jameson, what flick are we watching today?
Longtime listeners will recall that I had a DVD box set of Italian post-apocalyptic movie knockoffs, and we're at the end of that journey. This is the closing chapter of this trilogy. So it started out when we did 1990 Bronx Warriors, and then we moved on to 2019 After the Fall of New York, and we will be concluding this journey with The New Barbarians from 1983.
Which has a ton of other titles. It's also known as Warriors of the Wasteland. It's also known as Metropolis 2000. And this one is a little strange. I also found a couple of VHS covers where it's called 2019, The New Barbarians.
You know, funny enough, I'm looking at the blurb on the back of the box set here, and the movie even says it's the year 2019. Yeah. So we could have easily watched this instead of After the Fall of New York last year.
Yeah, we might have dropped the ball. This might have been After the Fall of New York was us watching that movie in 2019, sort of laughing at the absurdity of what the near future could be. And now that we are living in the most boring apocalypse, now this is sort of like a parallel window universe of like, I don't know.
The alternate history of what could have been.
Like, before we were looking forward.
Well, the other way that I've been looking at this is, like, we've been watching this box set in the descending order of the movies I have enjoyed the most to the movies I enjoyed the least. I must say, like, between these 3 movies, I've seen Bronx Warriors, like, at least half a dozen times, because I think it's hilarious. I've seen After the Fall of New York, I think, like, maybe 3 or 4 times, maybe even less than that. And I've only ever seen The New Barbarians once. This is not ending on a high note. I'm going to tell you that right now. I think it's because, like, the protagonist, the main hero, I just couldn't root for him. I didn't like them for reasons that you will soon find out.
I enjoyed both 1990 and the 2019 movies that we watched. I can't honestly remember rooting for any of the characters in it. They all seemed kind of despicable off the top of my head. Wasn't the protagonist of one of them literally called Garbage?
Trash.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think it just comes with the genre. They are not meant to be likable characters. No. But more so with the New Barbarians, I just think the guy is lame.
Okay.
A protagonist like...
Well, speaking of that guy, Jameson, who's in this cast and who's the director?
It's so funny that I kind of just like stumbled upon this by rewatching all these movies. It's kind of like an alumni session here because we have a lot of returning cast members and a director featured earlier in this box set. So, The New Barbarians is directed by Enzo G. Castellari, who directed 1990 Bronx Warrior.
So, if we didn't have our Christmas Home for the Holidays episode in here, this movie would fit nicely with our trend of revisiting old directors, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Both The New Barbarians and Bronx Warriors were made in the same year and released in the same year.
With some of the same cast members.
Yes, exactly.
So, like, I'm not an expert on this at all, but it's very on point with the way I think the Italian film industry works. You saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right? Yeah, so you know, there's like the subplot of that where...
He goes over to Italy and
He goes over to Italy and he makes like 5 movies back to back. That's like the point that they're making is he's not sure if this is like the right step for his career, but it's money. So it really does seem like most of the cast and the director of Bronx Warriors immediately started making new Barbarians. Probably, honestly, what we probably should have done is we probably should have rewatched Bronx Warriors before this, because they're probably going to reuse a lot of the same sets, maybe even some of the same costumes, I imagine, just to keep the cost down.
On the subject of actors returning from Bronx Warrior, we have the man, the myth, the hammer, Fred Williamson. He's back once again playing the coolest character in the movie.
Just by virtue of being Fred Williamson.
Absolutely. And once again, he's not even meant to be like the main guy, but you really wish you were.
He's on the majority of the posters for this. Even though, without seeing this, I already knew, well, he's a supporting character. He'll show up, he'll say something cool, and he'll probably die in a gloriously gory way. Yeah. I'm already making predictions about this movie.
Yeah, my sweet summer child.
I wonder how accurate I'll be.
That rosy red image of what this movie could be in your head.
It's more like a toxic gray, but
representing 2019 after the fall in New York, we have former Miss Teen Italy, Anna Kanakis. She's back in this.
Yeah, she played like the evil Darth Vader lady in 2019. To be honest, the only reason I kind of remember her is because her name is Anna Kanakis, which is just a fun thing to say.
It's a delightful name, yeah. And the main guy who's been featured in both Bronx Warriors and After the Fall in New York, George Eastman. And it took me until too long to realize that this fucking post-apocalyptic DVD box set, it really could be the George Eastman post-apocalyptic Italian box set.
I was wondering if you were going to bring that up. If you weren't going to bring that, I certainly was going to bring that up. What's like the official title?
Post-apocalyptic triple feature.
Would have saved a ton of time if it was just called the George Eastman trilogy, because he's in all of these. I did a little bit of research on George Eastman just because this is the third time he's popped up in a movie.
We're going to have to learn about this guy sooner or later. So what did you find out about him?
Well, for one thing, his actual name is Luigi Montefiore, because most of the people in these movies have American names, even though they are Italian as the day is long. But George Eastman has a long and varied career. Like, he's not just an actor, he's also like an active participant, he's a producer, he's a director. He has 47 writing credits.
I found that out about the guy. Like, he's predominantly featured in movies as the heavy because he's like 6'7" and he's got like a mean looking face. But he's got the soul of a poet, this guy. He's a screenwriter.
Yeah, he's the Italian Tom Noonan. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, amongst his I feel like I should explain. Tom Noonan is an imposing character actor. He played Francis Dollarhide in the movie Manhunter, but he's also like a New York intellectual playwright who's like a contemporary of Wallace Shawn. So this has been another episode of Kaz Explains the Joke. But amongst George Eastman's writing credits, I feel like maybe we dropped the ball a little bit, because I did find one movie that he co-wrote the screenplay under a pseudonym for, called 2020 Texas Gladiators. We could have, because that fits with the whole thing. Last year we did 2019. This year we didn't even think about, and rightfully so, because we want to tie up this.
Sadly, like, the Texas Death Match, or whatever the fuck it's called, is not in the box set here.
But there might be a few movies missing, as you've said before, because
4 movies.
There's a sticker on that box that promises more than
maybe
3.
They're including that fucking behind-the-scenes thing that Fred Williamson hosted in one of them.
Didn't the sticker also say it's meant to be like gangster movies or something? I think someone just put the wrong sticker on the fucking box or something.
Plus a collectible mob scrapbook. I feel like I got ripped off here. They promised me a 4th movie and a mob scrapbook.
Because none of these movies are even about the mob.
There's gangs in them.
They're Italian, though, so maybe it's like...
No.
Maybe it's like an actual mob scrapbook.
It's just a derogatory term for the Italians.
That has nothing to do with like the movie. It's just like the producers of the... Now I'm stereotyping the Italians, but...
Well, one thing that I learned about George Eastman was that he wrote and starred in this one movie called Anthropophagus. Anthropophagus. That's a movie where he plays a cannibal, and there is a scene where he strangles a pregnant woman, tears out the fetus from her womb, and bites into it. Soul of a poet.
So we're penciling that in for next New Year's, yes?
Why not?
I do really love that you brought up his directing credit, because the other thing that I wanted to say about George Eastman, he's actually only directed 2 movies. You brought up one. The other one that I wrote down was he co-directed a movie. It's about bestiality.
Oh.
And it's called Bestialita. It was given a different name in the United States. I'm going to let you think about what that name could be. But before I do that, I just want to read the synopsis of this movie that I found on Letterboxd, because it's great. Every once in a while I find like the synopsis for a movie that was just, it's written by like a poet. So this is the plot of the movie that George Eastman co-directed. A young girl witnesses her mother having sex with the family dog. When her father finds out, he burns the dog alive. She is so traumatized by these incidents that she later turns into a nymphomaniac. She moves to an island and lives there with her own dog, having sex with various guests who visit her. So that's the plot of that movie. It's about bestiality. It's about a woman who has sex with a dog. Can you guess what the American title is?
Isle of Dogs?
That's pretty good. That's actually not bad.
Must Love Dogs?
I do love this, though. The American title for this movie is Dog Lay Afternoon.
Ooh. You know, that's gonna be the most credit I'm gonna give to that movie is that's kind of funny. That's a pretty funny title.
I'm gonna rally for a George Eastman month for next year, because I think this guy is a well of what the fuckness. I'm a fan. I'm already a fan.
He has yet to disappoint us. These movies. Okay, yeah, and that's all the setup I have for the new Barbarians.
Okay, cool. Well, let's see if your tome of warning for whether or not George Eastman has yet to let us down carries over into 1983's The New Barbarians. We're going to give that a watch, and when we come back, we'll tell you all about what happened, because that's what we do on the show.
Send us off here on a high note. New Barbarians, this is the end of 2020, God willing.
If you're new here, what we do is, I feel like after last week's fiasco with Hannah watching the movie, I need to explain to literally everyone what it is we do here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna stop the episode, and then when we come back, we will have already watched the movie. So that's how this podcast works. So now that you know that, you won't be confused when we come back. So there's gonna be a charity spot, and then after that, we'll be back. So like, when the music happens, the podcast isn't over. We're not going away. We will be back. There will be at least an hour left. Or we'll try and get an hour. Anyway, are we good now? Do you have anything to add?
When you don't hear our voices, we cease to exist.
Yeah, we fade into nothingness, and please continue to listen. Please continue to listen, or we will be wiped from existence like David Lynch in Fire Walk With Me. We'll see you later. Oh man, I feel like I need to explain that joke now. Okay, so Fire Walk With Me is a show...
We finished this off
okay,
3 minutes ago.
Alright, good. Alright. The prospect of a new year can be daunting for a lot of people, especially after a holiday season that, for some people, may not have been as loving or as inclusive as it should be for everyone. That's why today's charity shout-out is for the Trevor Project, an American non-profit organization founded in 1998 focused on suicide prevention efforts among lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning youth. The Trevor Project is committed to producing research that brings new knowledge and clinical implications to the field of suicide. The organization looks to fulfill their mission through providing crisis counseling to LGBTQ plus young people who are thinking of suicide, offering both supportive counseling and a sense of community to young LGBTQ plus people in order to reduce suicide, to educate young people and adults who interact with young people on suicide prevention, and to advocate for laws and policies that will reduce suicide amongst LGBTQ plus young people. If you would like to donate or volunteer your time to the Trevor Project, visit thetrevorproject.org. And if you're thinking about suicide, please call the Trevor Lifeline at 866-488-7386.
I think that was the first time we ever kind of nailed the clap, didn't we?
Not at all. Not even close. What are you talking about?
Oh, well, the video looked sync on my part.
Alright. I don't know. There has to be some sort of delay between the two of us based on all my prior editing experience. Because no matter what, it always seems like you're just a beat behind me. It's fine. It's easy enough to edit it that way, but...
Yeah, this isn't a perfect system that we've kind of stumbled upon here. This is pretty much what we have to live with until we get proper recording space again.
We're just one of those do-it-yourself podcasts, you know? We're a podcast kept together with duct tape and glue.
And a dream.
Much like the production design of this movie. And we're back from hanging out with the new Barbarians in Jameson. let me tell ya, if these are the new Barbarians, I hate to see what the old ones are like.
Yeah, man, my head is just buzzing, and I think that maybe have to do with the fact that every fucking car engine in this movie sounds like a broken hairdryer.
Yeah, there was a lot of ambient humming going on throughout this movie, even in the soundtrack sometimes. Sometimes the soundtrack would just be a series of buzzes and whizzes.
This was a very annoying movie to listen to. And every time, I heard, a car coming in from over a hill or from in the distance, I just thought, fuck, no, you can't even get, a moment's rest from this fucking wall of noise that these things have. What fresh hell is awaiting us?
There were far too many scenes of these cars sneaking up on people or catching people by surprise, and it's just, no. If you're going to give them that sound effect, I mean, this is the third one of these we've seen now, so the one thing we know for sure is that lots of objects have sound effects that aren't the right sound effect for that object. Like, if a character is firing a machine gun, it will always sound like a laser. But the cars in this movie baffle me. It's like, why do they need to not sound like cars? It's just car. This is the thing. This is like the first thing that I want to delve into in this movie, because this is the first of these post-apocalypse movies where I don't know what it is, but the faults and the trappings of this one really started to seem a lot more evident than they were in the other two. That has a lot to do with the fact that the writing was on the wall with this one before we watched it. You're quite right. This is the least good of these movies, easily. But I don't know what it was particularly about this movie that kept bothering me. It's like, just because it is the apocalypse, that doesn't mean that properties don't act the way they act. Like, plastic can't stop bullets. I'm sorry, the new Barbarians, it can't. I don't care how good plastic it is. I don't care if you have a scene where you explain that it's future plastic, like this movie doesn't have. It can't stop bullets. So if you cover yourself in plastic armor and expect it to look badass and stop all the bullets that people are firing at, you're gonna fail on both accounts.
I got some bad news for you. I will say, of all the these post-apocalyptic sci-fi movies that we've been watching, this one at least has the most futuristic-looking devices, I'd say. Everything has piping coming out of it. Everything is all, weirdly silver. Most seat cushions are, these inflatable rubber things. The main character's car is basically the Homer. You know, the car that Homer
I wrote that down too. That's exactly what I wrote down. It's the Homer. Yes.
They got stupid bubbles on the hood and everything, and
there's different variations of the Homer as well, because when you first see our hero's car, yeah, it looks ridiculous with its big, dumb dome skylight, but then my assumption was that, okay, that car was custom made for Scorpion the hero, but then we see some of the villains driving cars that are very similar, except they don't have one dome, they have double domes, which just raises more questions.
If they have domes at all, sometimes they're just there is no window, they're dune buggies. They're just silver dune buggies with a little propeller that will come out to the side and spin around.
Have you ever wanted to watch Mad Max Fury Road, but wish that the cars all drove at a sensible speed? And the fucking new Barbarians is the movie for you.
They drive as fast as a man can run.
It's just golf cart speed. This movie is 60% car chase, but none of the cars are going faster than 45 miles per hour. And it looks that way. And it's hilarious. They never get over it.
And I love how, for the most part, everything is these futuristic cars, but they're still, old muscle cars. So eventually when they run out of whatever, cardboard that they spray paint silver, whenever they run out of that, they just have, an old blue pickup truck that they put a dome on top of and call it a day.
Very early on in the movie, two things are made abundantly clear about the vehicles in this. The main hero is named Scorpion. The one thing we learn very early on is that Scorpion's car is very fast. And the other thing we learn almost at the same time is that all of the villains' cars are not. Mm-hmm. So, in every scene where Scorpion's trying to get away from people, there's no tension. I'm not worried that he's going to get caught. He almost always does get caught, but there's no reason for him to get caught. You've shown us the truth, and you can't take that away from our eyes now, but you're forcing us to accept this narrative that doesn't make sense. It's a lot like the ending of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, where no matter how fast you go, Dr. Robotnik will always outrun you and he'll jump in his robot, and it's like, No, you've just spent an entire game establishing that Sonic is very, very fast. There's no reason why I shouldn't be able to catch this guy.
Yeah, what makes Scorpion a hero is that his car just so happens to be the best super James Bond spy car in this universe. And the only time he ever finds himself in a bind is whenever he decides on his own to get out of the car.
He does that a lot. If he stayed in the car, it would be a 20-minute movie. He can solve all of his problems by just staying in the car and just driving a little. He doesn't even need to drive super fast. He just needs to drive the speed limit. Mm-hmm. And then the bad guy, the Templars, won't catch him. I wish this was more fun to watch. It's going to be fun to talk about it with you, because it's ridiculous. I wish this was more fun to watch.
Yeah, I've always felt that of the three movies in this box that I have, it's the least enjoyable. Like I said, with Bronx Warriors, you can kind of laugh at how fucking inept it kind of is for being a post-apocalyptic movie set on the bustling streets of New York. And with After the Fall of New York, we were discussing that the production design of it is very well done. Everything kind of looks like this is like the post-apocalypse. This movie, it all takes place in a quarry and an open field. Like the premise is that it's after the nuclear holocaust. There are these roaming tribes just trying to like find other remnants of civilization.
Just trying to get by.
Just trying to get by, but seemingly unaware that there are other people out there. When it just seems to me like, if you just drive 10 miles down the road, you'll find another settlement. And also, if you're looking for other people, there's this whole sect of people called the Templars. There literally are other people still alive in the post-apocalypse.
Well, you don't want to run, but you don't...
Well, like, the whole premise is these nomadic tribes are, like, trying to track down these radio signals of, like, some other tribe that may be out there. But they see other people all the time.
Okay, I'll argue with you on this plot point, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to find other non-psychotic people so they can build up their numbers and have more of a chance to fight against the Templars. You don't want to run into the Templars. So the Templars are white-clad stormtrooper villains whose outfits, half of their outfits are lab coats and the other half are just fetish gear. Mm. They look like kinky scientists. But the Templars, they want to, and we find out that their mission isn't world domination or like a thirst for power. They literally see humanity as a disease, and the apocalypse was, the truth or whatever, and they want to exterminate all people, and then I presume once all people are exterminated, then they'll kill themselves? I don't know. It's kind of a confusing ideology.
No, they're absolutely a doomsday cult. I'm kind of at a loss as to why they seem to be the most technologically advanced. How do they acquire the silver dune buggies that go 50 miles an hour?
Well, they're scavengers. I imagine, they find these roaming bands of survivors, and then they kill them all, and then they scavenge what they have, and then, because everything in this movie, all the cars, all of the encampments, all of the weapons, it follows the trend that the other two Italian apocalypse movies we watched follow, is that I do like how everything seems to be built out of other stuff in this world. Like, that's always fun. I always like seeing that trope pop up.
Clothing and homes are just kind of like pieced together, whatever they were able to find. Yeah, I could see that, but I'm wondering, like, how were they able to even amass all of this technology and science, given that there's a part early in the movie where they ambush a camp and destroy everybody there, and then they just start tearing apart books. Like, they don't want to have any kind of passing knowledge or information to carry on. So, these guys should conceivably be a bunch of Luddites.
What I wrote down near the end of the movie is they seem to be radicalized nihilists, which aren't really two flavors that go well together.
Kind of an
it kind of seems like competing ideologies there. Because they don't care about, they all seem to have, the Templars, they all seem to have this worldview that nothing matters, everything's pointless, God is dead, heaven is dead. We're gonna get to that in a second. But yeah, they seem like nothing matters, no one should be alive, everyone is already dead, they're just walking around as walking corpses. It's our, not even like, I don't know, not like a moral duty because they don't have morals, not like a religious duty. They just seem like it is their only goal left is to go around and kill everyone because everyone's dead anyway, so what does it even matter?
The only action that'll have any kind of meaning in the world is to eliminate the remains of humanity.
Yes.
All under the command of George Eastman's character, One. That's pretty much it.
The amazing naming trope carries over from Bronx Warriors here. Yeah, there's some great character names in this. George Eastman, after 2 movies of playing the secondary lunkhead, finally gets upped to...
prime lunkhead.
Yeah, lead villain role. It's a role, of course, he sinks his teeth into, but again, just like this movie, I wish I enjoyed it more. There's one element to his villain character that, I have a problem with. We'll get to that in time. So let's hop back all the way to the beginning, because there's 2 things at the very beginning of my notes that I wanted to bring up. The first sort of hint, first sort of writing on the wall that this was going to be a less enjoyable version of the movies that we saw before is that the opening credits for New Barbarians, much like 2019 After the Fall of New York, you're seeing what's obviously a diorama of a ruined cityscape. But this movie makes the bizarre choice of building this entire construct that someone obviously spent time on, and it just puts it in a little, kind of like I'm talking to you right now over Zoom. You are full screen, and I'm relegated to a little window in the corner. That's where this diorama is. And then the rest of it is just a black screen with the credits on. It's like, why would you make and film that if you're just going to relegate it to a side screen over on the thing? That didn't make any sense.
No, yeah. It's just like this picture-in-picture letterbox thing where they have the diorama and then like a signal flare falls into the diorama of the city. That's meant to be like the nuclear bomb, and then it kind of doesn't get destroyed. Like nothing really bad happens to the diorama.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe they filmed it and it just looked terrible, so they just made it as small as possible so you could kind of see it, but not enough to embarrass themselves.
Yeah, they had to look at the dailies and said like, oh, this doesn't look nearly as cool as we were kind of hoping. Let's just shrink it down so the audience kind of has to lean in a little closer to get the full impression of it.
Of these 3 movies, this is the one that feels like it has the smallest budget. Even Bronx Warriors, which again, as you pointed out, was filming in the middle of the day on crowded city street. You could see regular cars going by in the background if you squinted hard enough. That feels like that it had more money than this does. They keep telling us it's the post-apocalypse, and mankind is down to like a thimbleful of what its original population was. But just all of the set dressings, it all seems really kind of half-assed this time. Like, after the credits open, to like get the idea across that everything is dead and the world is barren now. 2019, After the Fall of New York, had that great opening with the melted buildings and the smoke and everything. There was a real sense of despair and foreboding and like there's no hope to be found. This movie just tosses a couple of Halloween skeletons into the middle of an empty field and calls it a day.
Put that skeleton in a spacesuit, put some bubbles over the chest, and we'll call it a day.
What was the deal with it? One of those skeletons had boob windows.
Well, I think
what was going on there?
I think that was just a fashion trend that we missed in the year 2019, Cass.
Yeah.
Because that does play back again later in the movie. But yeah, the first sign of trouble that I had with this movie was in that opening raid scene where the Templars are attacking the settlers. There were more than a handful of scenes where the Templars' main means of intimidation were to just drive up a ramp and then it films them midair in slow motion. This is one of those movies where you could probably shave 5 minutes off the runtime if you just don't put anything in slow motion.
Well, look, this is the one time that I'm on the Templars' side. It actually is a good thing that they came and they wiped out this camp, because very clearly this small camp of survivors was hoarding all of the empty kegs.
Yes.
Because their camp, no one else is allowed to have empty plastic kegs anymore. This one camp has all of them, and they have them all stacked into pyramids, which makes it perfect at the end of ramps.
Yeah.
So it makes it perfect for when the Templars ride their motorbikes through them and shoot everyone in slow motion. Why do they have all the empty kegs? What is the purpose of those? They don't hold anything. They're not holding like supplies or anything. They're just empty. They fly through the air if you like touch them.
Yeah, they're just like stack them there for convenience sake, and I hope I hope no Templars come by to knock them over. Whoa!
Hey, you ever think about putting something in these kegs, and then he just gets like shot in the head? It's all like, that's heretic talk.
Yeah. So after that opening raid, we cut to that same camp at night where we are introduced to Scorpion, who I guess is just scoping out the remains.
Ooh, Scorpion. Oh, what a badass character name. This is a tough customer you gotta watch out for. He definitely isn't played by an actor who resembles the substitute teacher that Lisa Simpson fell in love with in season 1. The hair on this guy.
Oh my god, my first, like, it's a mixture between like Paul Reiser in Aliens and John Oates.
Yeah. Yes. obviously all of the actors in this, barring Fred Williamson, are Italian-speaking people that have been dubbed over, but they managed to find the most Jewish-looking Italian man they could find. And they put him in like a ton of like Jewish sweaters too. He's always wearing like cardigans.
Yeah.
Even though it's like the desert.
You're
is,
gonna
like,
catch your
super hot.
death out there.
Yeah, so he's driving around in his awesome car that has like rocket launchers and a self-opening door. He's got some engine trouble, so he goes to see, presumably his only friend, a fucking 8-year-old kid.
Did this kid ever get a name, or is he just the kid?
I'm glad you asked, Kaz. On the Wikipedia article,
You know what? I almost don't want to know.
it's Young Mechanic.
All right, I was worried that it was gonna be something like Dipsqueak or something like
Short
that.
round or whatever.
They could have just called him Shorty again, but that was from 2019, so that guy
You
had.
can't go back to that well twice, yeah.
That would have been less offensive this time.
Anyways, the kid is, I don't even know if he's like a genius inventor or mechanic, but fucking
Well,
Scorpion can't
he
fix.
clearly is. What are you talking about? He clearly is a genius inventor because he's got like a Pee-wee's Playhouse mansion of like an RV or something. He lives all by himself. He's just this little genius inventor
He's got millions of things spinning on at all times.
who's been able to hoard off the Templars because of his sweet fucking slingshot skills. When this character was introduced, before we see that he's a little boy, we just see someone menacing Scorpion from off camera, and they're like taking pot shots with this high-powered slingshot. I'm sorry, slingshots have never been intimidating, ever. Not once.
It has to be the ammo that you're using in the slingshot to make it like any kind of real threat. You know, like maybe you could put some glass in there, or it's like an explosive.
I think this begs the question, if you are using ammo for a slingshot that is so powerful it can puncture skin and maim or kill people, what is the line between slingshot and crossbow? Because I feel if you are like maiming and killing, that's not a slingshot anymore.
So the mechanic pulls a human ear out of Scorpion's gearbox, he calls him a shitty driver, and then Scorpion's on his way.
Did you notice how weird the editing in this scene was? Because Scorpion goes to Young Mechanic, as we will now call him, YM, and he drops off his car, and then he says, I'll give you a couple of hours to fix it, it's not really running the way I want it to. And then it cuts to another car pulls in and starts doing donuts, and the first thing I noticed is like, okay, well, hey, wait, that kind of looks exactly like the car Scorpion was driving. Maybe this is more of a popular car than I thought. But then it stops doing donuts, and the kid gets out, and he's all like, I did it! And it's like, oh, wait, I guess this was hours later and the car is fixed. But it's edited in such a way that it looks like it's happening seconds later.
Yeah. No, I always figured that was Scorpion's car. It didn't look too different from what we had seen before. I did notice that when the kid was doing donuts, he almost clipped the side of his RV, so he may be a genius mechanic, but he's still learning to drive.
Jameson, I don't want to disappoint you too much. I don't think the kid was doing his own driving. It's just a feeling I have.
Yeah, fuck, what happens next in that movie?
Well, Scorpion, yet again, comes upon a bunch of Templars. Actually, hold on. Circling back a bit. When we're introduced to Scorpion, and it's night, and he comes across that, like, burned-out car with all the dead people, there was, like, a gang there that he killed. Those weren't the Templars, right? That was, like, a different gang. They were, like, Monster Men or something.
They were, like, toilet paper mummies.
Yes!
They were this movie's equivalent of, what were they called in Bronx Warrior? The kind of guys
Yeah,
that
they
lived in
were
the sewer.
called, like, I don't remember. I just remember they were, like, the Reavers, and then there was, like, the fancy gang was called the Zombies, and I just remember, it's like, why the fuck weren't the other gang called the Zombies?
Right,
They weren't talking or anything.
Yeah, the people who lived in the sewer were called the Scavengers. That's right. So this is
Yes,
this movie's
right,
equivalent of the Scavengers. Complete with, like, the way of them talking.
Well, they're all scavengers. I don't know. So, okay, Scorpion intercepts a couple of Templars, and he rescues Anna Kanakis, who is the female lead of this movie. I'll be perfectly honest, did not catch her name.
Neither did I. I'm also at a loss as to who she is and where she was going.
She's just a lady.
She's just a lady, but we're introduced to her when the Templars are accosting her van, and they kill her driver. One thing I'll say about this movie is all the principal characters have really distinct looking outfits, with the exception of Scorpion. Anna Kanakis is...
Well, until the ending, that is.
Yes, fair enough. Point taken. Anna Kanakis has these thigh-high boots and a swimsuit and a cape and big voluminous hair. So she kind of looks like someone who would be a princess, or like some kind of important figure in a society. Everyone else in this movie is wearing rags. She looks like someone who would be important, but we never really find out too much about this lady.
I think that also has something to do with the fact that you and I are, while we're watching this, we're also remembering the other two movies. And the lead female actor in that had some sort of importance. 2019, she was like the only fertile woman. 1990 Bronx Warrior, she was like the president's daughter. So I feel like we were expecting this movie to keep the same contrivances. No, she's just a lady, nothing interesting about her. Don't even remember if anyone says her name at any point or asks it.
Yeah.
More importantly, no one asks her name at any point.
Yeah.
Which is on brand with these kind of movies.
What happens is Scorpion saves her from the Templars. I think there's like this sort of tent standoff. Oh.
Can I just say one thing about this? So all of the Templars have weapons on their cars. One of them has a spike, one of them has like a flamethrower, one guy has spinning blades that come out and stab people. On top of these cars not being able to drive very fast, clearly, they do manage to kill a lot of innocent people using these weapons on these cars, but the deaths all have to be super duper contrived. Like there's never, oh, I'm gonna run this guy down with my car, I'm gonna stab him with the spike. It's not as easy as just running someone through. He has to kind of run up a hill a little bit, but then slip at the last minute so he's in exactly the right spot to be impaled. Same with the spinny thing. Someone is running away, and it's like, oh, he's gonna get hit by the spinning thing. He first has to fall, and then only get halfway up, so he is in the exact right position to be decapitated.
All part of the plan.
It all seems very inconvenient, and yet it always seems to work out fine.
And it's always kind of hilarious. One positive I'll say about this movie is a good dummy work. Maybe not good dummy work, but hilarious use of dummies.
Yes, I don't know if I can agree that it's good dummy work. There certainly is a lot of dummy work. It's quantity over quality, we'll say that.
But they're getting their heads blown up and their chests blown up and...
Oh man, one guy gets his chest blown up and it looks he just stuffed a ton of deli meat into his jacket. He's just got like 10 sausages in there and it just blew up everywhere.
They've got to stuff this dummy and launch a fucking Roman candle at it.
I like these Italian B-movies because I don't remember if this is something that an observation that I brought up on one of the other episodes. I love how the shootouts go. The camera will see someone is firing their gun, and then when it cuts to the person who's being hit by the gun, there's all of a sudden a wound on their face that wasn't there before. Or if someone's shooting a hole in a wall, there's clearly like a cutout where the welding torch went into, and it's all like, okay, this is where it's supposed to be. It reminded me do you remember like those, when you were a kid, that you had like those action figures that might have had like battle damage?
Yeah, I had a few of those.
Where you could like rip a chunk off of it and there's like exposed ribs underneath. It just reminded me of that. Where it's like someone will get shot in the face and there'll be like one static shot of them standing there, and then the next edit, it's clearly another day or 3 hours later, and they've put the makeup on their face and they just go, ah! And they fall down.
They turn around to face the camera, wound exposed. Yeah, that side of their face exposed to the camera.
There's a whole bunch of that.
I don't know if you would call that creative or just lesson one of filming with special effects, but... No,
I'd call it creative. That obviously is people working with a budget and they want to do something that they don't have the money for. Mm-hmm. So I have no problem with that. I think that's quite quaint, and I think it's creative. I have more of a problem with this movie's politics.
Bear in mind that all three of these movies in this box set were like filmed and released in the same year, and I gotta imagine they all had like the same budget to be spent on all three, so this was really squeezing every penny here. So Scorpion and Anakinakis drive away from the Templars. She hurt herself in the chase, and Scorpion goes to inspect. She's a little wary of his intentions because this is of course the after the breakdown of society, but Scorpion has good intentions and doesn't take advantage of this woman, and she rewards him by sleeping with him anyways.
But that's the lesson there. If it's the post-apocalypse, if you don't immediately try to rape a woman the second you meet her, she might end up getting with you anyway. That seems to be the sexual politics of post-apocalypse 2019.
You hear that, guys?
You know what? That's a good lesson to follow in real life, too, guys. Try not to rape a woman the second you meet her. You know, it might end up going all right.
Yeah, this has been relationship advice with Kaz and Jameson. And then they have sex in their see-through green bubble tent.
This was ridiculous. It seemed like most of the bedding was also made out of like blow up inflatable toys, like in this future as well too. But it's like, you would have been more inconspicuous if you just fucked in the dirt. Like, honestly,
or stayed in the back seat. Go to the car.
I don't know.
Fuck in the car,
You're drawing,
man.
by getting in this sex bouncy castle, you're drawing more attention to yourself, as evidenced by the fact that Fred Williamson is totally fucking creeping on, watching all of this sex go down, like, up on the hill.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have, like, no privacy in that fucking oxygen tank that Homer believes gives him sexual powers. That's my other Simpsons reference that I made during the screening.
Won't be the last.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is about the time... Right? This is about the time when Fred Williamson enters the movie.
Gold Arrow. Nadir is his name, yeah.
Nadir.
But it may as well be Golden Arrow, because, like, he is essentially Green Arrow with all his trick arrows, and he's got a sweet black and gold.
Yes, his outfit is exceptional. Yes, he is the Green Arrow. I wrote down Hawkeye, but that's fine. Green Arrow, Hawkeye, two sides of the same coin. I wrote down Hawkeye, but terrible. You want to believe that Fred Williamson is a cool, badass archer, and I could charitably talk for the next hour and a half just about the outfit that Fred Williamson is wearing, because, my God, he wins best outfit, hands down. He wins best dressed of this entire movie.
Oh, for sure,
like,
yeah.
That one shoulder pad...
With the spike on
that
it?
That is wild.
Yeah, he's got the gauntlets that have all the explosive arrowheads on it. That's, you know, like, he's supposed to be like this badass archer character, and more than half the kills that he doesn't even use his bow and arrow. He just chucks the explosive arrowheads at people.
I get that it's cool that you have exploding arrows, but after a while you have to ask yourself, am I an arrow guy or am I an explosive guy? You need to pick one.
Yeah.
The whole thing, Fred Williamson, about being an archer is that you're very fast. And you, sir, are not. You are not a fast archer. And the thing about being an archer is you have to be, that's the whole deal with being an archer, is that you're so much better than other people. You don't need a gun.
Mm-hmm.
You take something that is noticeably weaker than a gun, and you're still better than all the gun people. That's the whole bragging rights about being an archer. And he kills everyone. It's not like he's an ineffective character. He still, like, wipes out all of the Templars that he sees and everything. It's just he takes his sweet fucking time doing it.
Yeah, there's, like, in his opening scene, the Templars have tracked down Scorpion and Anakinakis again, and Scorpion is able to fend them off right up until the point he just decides to step outside of the car and go for a run, which is automatically putting the Templars at an immediate advantage because their whole thing is just running people down in their cars. And the only reason Scorpion survives it is because Fred Williamson finally decides, I'm going to make a crater for Scorpion to hide in the ground in with my explosive arrow. And that's how Scorpion was able to fend them off. He needed Fred Williamson to bail him out a couple of times in this movie.
As he does. Fred Williamson's entire role in this is to just bail the least effective hero we've seen yet in one of these movies. I really liked, his character was confusing, but I really liked Fred Williamson's performance in this. He was really cool in Bronx Warrior as the crime lord or whatever, but he gave a performance that's kind of like, oh, that's Fred Williamson, and he showed up on the day and he was Fred Williamson. He's playing a character in this. He has like a manner of, he has like a heightened manner of speaking. It's like, Scorpion, my old colleague.
You took your sweet time, Nadir. I enjoyed watching your little game of war. I didn't know that you wanted my help. It appears as though you needed it anyway.
It's very much more of like a classic swashbuckler way of speaking for no reason. That's just the gimmick he decided like once the world went to hell, it's like, well, you know what we don't have a lot of in the post-apocalypse here? Archers. I'm going to be the archer guy, and people are going to know it's me because I have the crossbow, and I'm going to fucking talk like fancy Robin Hood-esque character.
Yeah, I'll just give Fred Williamson a little dose of credit here, because he clearly went from one movie with the same director immediately to another movie with the same director, and it could have been so easy for him to just coast along on both movies and give the exact same performance in both of them, but no, he gives a noticeably different performance in this than he gives in Bronx Warriors, and I don't know, I enjoyed watching him. I enjoyed watching his weird, inexplicable, not even a sex scene, just like a weird little romance scene he has with one of the nomad women. I don't even know what was going on there. What was your take on that?
He, like, Fred Williamson, for all like the fucking unspoken tension and history that exists between he and Scorpion that is never really elaborated on, he genuinely seems to want to help. So he says, hey, I saw another settler camp over there. They must have a doctor. Come on, I'll take you over there. When they get to the settler's place, there is a woman in the village who takes an immediate shine to Fred Williamson.
There it is.
There it is.
We got a shine get, everyone.
Yeah.
From now on, every time you say take a shine, I'm going to pipe in the music that Mario gets when he gets his shine in Super Mario Sunshine.
Wonderful. Well, I'll try not to overuse that.
Please overuse it. Please use it twice an episode.
Yeah. So, like, the whole thing about these villagers, what does Fred Williams say? Like, we offered them a trade in exchange for sheltering us. He says, no, they're just doing it out of the goodness of their heart.
I believe in something called God.
Let's rip the Band-Aid off of this, because this is a step too far. We all understand that it's the post-apocalypse. We all get that. But it's this one line that Fred Williamson says that actually isn't supported by anything else that happens in the movie, where he's just like, they follow like this deity. And yes, like you said, he words it in a way where it's like, no one in this world, the apocalypse has been going on for so long that people have forgotten about God. That's not, no. We're talking alternate realities here. There is no amount of time so long that human beings will forget about the existence of God. God is so, I'm not a religious person, but the idea of God is so old, you can't forget it that easy.
Yeah.
It's just something that's always there.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, you're right. And let's bear in mind that this movie is supposed to take place last year.
Yeah.
So whenever like the fucking bombs fell, like, and people emerged from whatever kind of bunkers they had, yeah, they just completely forgot about over 2,000 years of human history.
Even more than that. Yeah, there would still be religion in the bunkers or whatever. If anything, there would be even more religion or whatnot.
Yeah, a lot of people would be turning to God then, yeah. But anyways, the woman that we were talking about, she invites Fred Williamson into, I guess, her hut or whatever, and she talks about her childhood and how, like, they believe in following the radio signals, and it's important for us to have belief. And of course, Fred Williamson's expression throughout all of this is just, yeah, cool, totally.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
What I was telling you where we come from. Oh, yes, go on. Most interesting.
As he's, like, trying to unhook her bra and everything.
Well, okay, I thought something else was going to happen here, because this woman, for all intents and purposes, kind of has, like, a mysticism about her. It kind of seemed like maybe she was a practitioner of some sort.
Like a priestess or something?
She purposefully invites Fred Williamson. I wrote this down because I thought this was going to be a thing. She invites him to take part in...
I will need to work on my biorhythmic concentration. It's been a while since I've done it.
Oh, well, that's okay.
Biorhythmic concentration, which I thought was going to be... You remember in Demolition Man when Stallone and Sandra Bullock have sex, and it's like a weird mind thing or whatever, and he's all like, oh, I don't know what's going on here. I thought something like that was going to happen, but they just kind of talk for a couple of minutes, and then I guess just have regular apocalypse sex. So I don't know what this biorhythmic concentration bullshit was supposed to... That feels like a dropped plot thread there that they never quite...
Yeah, she was like, would you like to practice biorhythmic whatever with me? He's like, I got a better idea.
We're talking about the same thing, aren't we?
Where I come from, we do things a little differently. Can you teach me the ways?
So at the tail end of this scene comes maybe my favorite line/moment of this entire movie. Scorpion has decided to go off on his own. He's going to leave Anakinakis with these rambling nomads or whatever, because he knows the Templars are after him, and he doesn't want to draw attention to them. Of course, we as the audience know that the second he leaves, the Templars are going to show up. He's going to have to come back for the finale. No surprises there. I mean...
There is a surprise, but we'll get to it.
But yeah, he comes into like the tent. I love this tent because it's got a plastic blow-up mattress and all of the walls are white fuzzy fur.
Yeah, like carpet walls, yeah.
I would just spend all my time in this tent if I had this tent, because this tent looks amazing. This is an amazing fuck tent, I gotta imagine. I would bring everyone back to my...
Yeah, but Scorpion says like, oh, well, I'm heading out of here, Fred Williamson. You take care now. And like, bear in mind, Fred Williamson is in like post-coital cuddling with this woman. They just had sex. Here comes Scorpion barging in there. He's like, hey man, I just want to say I'm heading out. You take care. And Fred Williams just says like, cool man. Well, bye.
Bye. I'll see you when I see you, because you know our relationship is I show up and save you, so I'll just catch you the next time that happens. All right. See you, Scorpion.
And Scorpion's like, you got it, Fred Williams. Okay,
And then
bye!
Yeah, he like lingers in the doorway for like a while, just like staring at them. And yeah, Fred Williams is just like, bye, Felicia.
I'll find you. I always do. Yeah, I know. Bye. Right. Bye. Bye.
Fucking go!
Like-
What are you doing? Fucking personal space.
Like, what a fucking loser this guy is. Take the goddamn hint. Read the room.
My bet is Scorpion was just as hypnotized by Fred Williamson's weird nipples as I am. I don't mean to throw some shade at, he is a legend of black cinema for sure, but, what is up with Fred Williamson's nipples? That's a photo that I'm absolutely going to include just because there needs to be photographic evidence. It's like, I don't know, maybe it's a tattoo or like an injury or something, but his nipple is bigger than it should be. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Don't be body shaming over here now, Kaz.
Let's stop delaying the inevitable,
Yeah.
Jameson. Let's talk about the problem areas
Yeah.
of the new Barbarians. Ooh, boy. This movie takes a turn.
Yeah, so to set that up, Scorpion is driving away from the camp. He comes across the Templars. They chase him down. Once again, Scorpion probably would have gotten away, but the Templars shoot the hood off his trunk, so he steps out of his car. And wouldn't you know it, he's surrounded now, so he can't escape if he wanted to.
Sidebar, I don't think it's this scene. I think we missed it earlier. This isn't the scene where someone throws a bomb on his car door, and then he hits a button, and the car door pops off and blows them up. Okay,
That's
I don't
different.
think that is the scene. I got two questions about that. One, what purpose would that serve other than literally that exact purpose of having a sticky bomb fall on your car? Other than that, there's no reason to want the entire side door of your driver's side seat to pop off while you're driving. Second question, why is the button for it just a tiny plus sign? You are very definitively not adding anything. Anything you're taking away from the
You're
car.
losing parts here.
You're losing it. You're not adding shit.
No,
I don't know.
To answer your question, no, that was a different scene. That was the scene where Fred Williamson saves him the first time.
A lot of this movie's kind of repetitive, is what we're trying to get at.
That car had many different features. Like it had the button would open the driver's side door on its own very slowly.
There's a lot of buttons that specifically only seem to work.
And it also had another feature where it would blow it completely off. It had a sweet tape deck where you could put like a Lego block onto it and it would play really sad funeral music. It was a wonderful piece.
There seemed to be a lot of options in that car that were just about that one driver's side door. Just made that door do things.
Honestly, the coolest thing you could say about Scorpion was he drove that car.
Yeah, that car was so impractical. If you told me it was designed by Homer Simpson, I would believe you, because it has all of the functions that would only make sense to him. Alright, I'm stalling. Let's talk about the thing I hate.
Alright, so Templars kidnap Scorpion and they take him back to their base. And throughout this movie, one, played by George Eastman, keeps saying like, oh, Scorpion he's mine. We don't really know what the history of him was, but I guess it's kind of revealed that he was a defector of the Templars, like he was going to be in them, but then he left, I think.
They just say that they offered Scorpion the chance to be a Templar, and he turned it down, and I think George Eastman is a little...
Doesn't handle rejection well, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what they do, once they capture him, they go through the initiation, which is probably why Scorpion didn't want to join in the first place. George Eastman takes a dagger and cuts down the backside of Scorpion's pants, and then rapes him.
Now, how do I start this? Obviously, this is horrible. Poor Taste doesn't even cover it. Like, this is horribly misguided. I mean, obviously, it's a product of its time. And look, the other movies we watched, like 2019 had rape in it as well. Like, these are post-apocalypse movies, and, I mean, the movie's called The New Barbarians. Like, raping is kind of what Barbarians did. We're not really watching movies about good people here. We're watching movies about shitbags that get their heads blown off, and they're exploitation movies, so it's not that I will give the movie this. I don't think I've ever seen a movie where the male hero is raped by the villain. New Barbarians is certainly treading new ground on this particular case. I don't know necessarily what I'm more angry at, that they included it, or that they kind of cheapened out, because the way the rape is filmed is fucking wacky. It's fucking weird. It's lots of fast edits. It's really hard to describe. It's lots of fast edits. It doesn't look like either of the actors are committing to what is happening. Let me say this. Rape is deadly serious. It is no laughing matter. But if you are going to depict it in film, I feel like you have a responsibility to show how terrible rape is. And both of these actors, I definitely felt like there was a lot of no homo going on between these two actors, and they didn't want to film anything too suggestive. I don't think George Eastman wanted to be photographed looking like he was enjoying having sex with a man, and I don't think whoever the fuck played Scorpion wanted to have himself filmed being penetrated by another man. It was unfortunate because they're in this movie where that happens. So I don't know if I'm more upset that it's there or that they filmed it in such a half-assed way that it doesn't actually hold much weight. It makes it more flippant the way that they did
Like,
it.
comparing it to something like After the Fall in New York, where the rape happens off camera, like, between scenes, and then it is just, like, heavily implied. No, in fact, it is confirmed that that's what happened.
It is confirmed, yeah. I mean, that rape is also really gross because that movie, it gives the overtones that, in a weird way, that rape was kind of a positive thing because now she's pregnant with a child and that was the whole deal. This woman to give birth. I don't know. That movie has some problems
Yeah,
too.
but the way that this movie decided to depict it was to make it like a fucking disco light show while it panned across the faces of all the people watching. It's certainly a workaround, I guess.
Yeah. And I was trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. It's all like, oh, okay, they're being shocking. But then, no, they make the subtext painfully clear later where after Scorpion has been rescued by Nadir, the mechanic, that they have Fred Williamson say a line where he calls them a bunch of queers, and it's like, oh, okay, well, now you're just being blatant about that. So now what this movie is saying is that the evil Templars, who are nihilists who want to wipe everyone off, are also gay? And that makes them evil? And unsurprisingly, I don't like that. I don't like that when that's in movies, and I didn't like it in this.
Yeah.
Soured the whole experience.
No, it's fucking disgusting. At that point, that's when you start realizing that, oh, there are no women Templars. You know, like, oh...
Well, but there's also barely any women in this movie.
Yeah.
There's like maybe 3. The point of fact is Scorpion does in fact say there's not a lot of women left anymore. So it's continuing this theme of like women are important in the apocalypse because of, I guess, reproduction. But yeah, this sucks. But it leads to a couple of humorous observations. The main thing that I want to take away that shows what a massive hypocrite one is that later on, so like near the end, I guess like near the climax of the movie, predictably, the Templars have caught up with the band that Anakin Akis is with now. The first thing I want to say about this is that this should be a match made in heaven. I don't understand why there's that much of a conflict here, because the Templars, their whole deal is they want to wipe all humans off the planet, and this religious group, they're not interested in worldly possessions or anything. They're all about like following the word of God. This reality is important. What's important is the next life. So you got one group that just wants to kill people, and the other group that actually isn't interested in being on Earth anymore. So it's all like, this is a win-win for both of you. I don't understand why this is suddenly the conflict of the movie.
I don't think it was like any kind of like promise of an afterlife that made this like a religious group. I think it was more or less like going on the belief of growing the flock. So we gotta find more members of civilization with the hope that there are others out there. This was like sort of like a half understood meaning of religious subtext. I don't know.
Yes, because God has been forgotten.
Yeah.
Even though the apocalypse happened charitably 10 years ago, maybe? I don't know. We're not really given much of a time frame.
Yeah.
If it's meant to be 2019, the apocalypse must have happened centuries ago. So at this point, it's not even an apocalypse movie at this point. It's more of an alternate reality movie at this point.
I guess so, yeah.
I mean, there is a time frame for when the nuclear apocalypse could happen. It would have to be when nuclear power was discovered.
Yeah, and sometime between like when this movie was filmed, 1983 and 2019, that's when the bombs fell, and 10 years after the fact, the irradiated Earth was allowed to support life again. Whatever. So yeah, Fred Williamson and the young mechanic decide that they are going to help train Scorpion and to get his revenge. Fred Williamson is offering some tough love, like encouraging, like, let's talk about like how he rescues him. How he takes fucking forever to...
Yeah, well, I sort of touched on that earlier, but it's just like a case of like where Scorpion is being slowly dragged behind by a car. It's like, look, if you drag a human body behind a car, that's deadly. That will kill someone, no problem. You have to fucking go faster than 55 miles an hour. He's just zooming along.
Yeah,
he's going like, oh, this is kind of inconvenient.
Dirt and bugs in his teeth, but he doesn't.
Sure,
seem
yeah,
like he's
sure,
gonna-
getting dirty here.
He's holding on there just fine.
He looks more mildly inconvenienced more than anything else.
Yeah, so Williamson saves him in this incredibly drawn-out sequence where he's checking the wind and, like, adjusting his scope and trying out these arrows and stretching his arm before he does it.
Wait, hold on, wait. I got something in my eye. Got an eyelash. Hold on, wait. Yeah.
I wanted to see a part where he's, like, got his bow ready and just about to fire an arrow, and then he puts it down so he can do a sneeze or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Again, I feel like we mentioned this last episode, but there's a certain way that this scene is shot where it's like you can clearly see the parody version of this scene play out almost exactly the same way. But it's funny because Fred Williamson rescues Scorpion by really taking his time killing these three goons.
Saving the one that's dragging Scorpion for last, I might add.
But then it cuts to like a training montage where Scorpion has to get better so he can defeat one. Can I just say one is a stupid fucking name for a villain?
Yeah,
like,
you're right, it's dumb.
yeah, so they're in this training montage, and Fred Williamson keeps saying over there, you're not fast enough. You gotta be faster. Well, you're one to fucking talk, fucking slowpoke Rodriguez. Like, come on.
Yeah, like Scorpion is like, I can't do it. I can't face him. And it takes the little kid, young mechanic, out of the mouths of babes, speak the truth. He says some shit about how the only thing that matters is winning, and then he flips the switch, and this little drill bit comes out of his RV where it goes, woo, 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 woo.
There's only one thing that matters. Winning.
And Fred Williamson starts hucking bombs at this bulletproof glass as the kid laughs at him. It's really surreal to see this all go down.
I guess they must have made Scorpion's final battle armor out of whatever glass that kid was hiding behind, because this bubble armor he's wearing is fucking ridiculous. It looks like he got it from fucking Mega Man or something. Like, it
is so stupid.
It's absurd.
It is a shirt made of fucking, like, bubble wrap. Ridiculous looking. And it's bulletproof, and one is surprised when he takes a shot point blank at Scorpion and it doesn't kill him, and what you're wearing some kind of protective body armor, and so Scorpion throws off the poncho, and instead of it just being this dramatic, awesome-looking Iron Man suit, whatever, reveal, see-through bubble
it's like
suit.
Metal exists in this world. We've been seeing metal all fucking... What were all those kegs made out of? Just fucking make, like, something out of that. It's like you made your battle armor out of the one material we know is very ineffective against bullets. And there's so many shots of him walking slowly, and there's, like, fire in the background, and it's like... I don't think this is as cool as you think it looks, Scorpion. Like, it's really not.
If anything, I kind of noticed that the shoulder pads on it they seemed to be on hinges. So when he was running or whatever, they kind of bounced up and down a little, so they looked like little chicken wings.
Okay, so this is the moment that I wanted to talk about earlier. So before Scorpion and his posse show up to rescue everyone, or attempt to rescue everyone, one is giving this big speech. He's got everyone down on their knees, and it's all like, you're all worms, you're all worthless. God is dead, none of this means anything. And then one of his cronies runs up and says, hey, those guys we sent to deal with Scorpion, they're back now, they're finally back. And of course, Scorpion and Fred Williamson, they've put like their dead bodies in a car, and it's meant to be a decoy. And one points at them and he goes,
Punish those clods! It's against the rules to interrupt me!
we know for a fact that is not true, because scenes earlier, we literally saw one of your cronies interrupt you raping your mortal enemy. It is mid-thrust when this guy comes up and says, hey, there's a caravan over there. It's the biggest one I've ever seen. And he just stops everything he's doing. It's all like, all right, leave him. We're all going. We're all going to go check out this caravan.
Bring one, caravan, the biggest we've ever seen. Let's take it!
I'm not even going to see my mortal enemy killed in front of me. I'm just going to leave it up to my cronies like a classic stupid fucking bad guy. I'm not going to finish the fucking job. But it's like, that dude fucking interrupted you. I would argue he interrupted you doing something far more important than what you were doing right now. You were trying to teach Scorpion to give him a message or something. But like midway through, this is why the whole rape annoys me. It seems like nothing to one. It's all like, I'm going to destroy your soul. I'm going to send you to hell, Scorpion. I hate you so much. I'm actually raping you. I'm done. let's go see where that caravan is. Like, he just gives up immediately, and he just moves on from there.
Yeah, that's really what bothered you the most about the rape scene.
Yes, that there was that, and then a close second was the actual unwanted physical sexual act, the rape. I should have just said rape. I got caught up in my own words. The rape is bad. Rape is bad. If we as a podcast haven't said this yet, rape is bad. Don't do rape.
Rape sucks. Rape is bad. Don't do it, people. Anyways, Fred Williamson and Young Mechanic easily take out most of the Templars while Scorpion is trying to get closer and closer to one's second in command, who I found out is he was also in Bronx Warrior. He was the president of the Manhattan Corporation.
Oh, he looked familiar. Wait, he was the president of the Manhattan Corporation?
He's the guy who sent Hammer after Anne.
I thought that was Enzo Castellari.
Well, he played his assistant.
Oh, did he? I thought he played the full-on
No,
president.
Enzo was the guy who was bald and wore his sunglasses indoors. And this guy that I'm talking about was the blonde guy with the mustache.
Yeah, Lionel. No, Shadow.
Shadow.
It was Shadow.
Yeah,
but
much
yeah,
cooler.
he just got like long flowing locks and everything.
Yeah, but he's got all the prisoners at gunpoint, and he says, like, don't take another step, Scorpion. I'm going to start shooting them all one by one. And, rather than fucking swing in on a chandelier and save the fucking day.
Try to do any hero stuff.
No, a good 5 people get shot before Scorpion shows up.
He makes good on his promise, and he even repeats the line,
One by one. Who's next?
Scorpion, that was the easiest, sir. It's like, this is another classic villain mistake. It's all like, I'm gonna kill him, Scorpion. I'm gonna kill him one by one. No, kill them all at the same time. This is your problem, Templars. Is that everyone in this movie is taking too long to do the thing.
Yeah.
If everyone reacted the way people reacted, this movie would be over in 15 minutes.
Scorpion was completely emasculated the night before, and this is his moment to sort of like redeem a lot of his, confidence or get revenge or whatever, and he just doesn't really do it. I don't even know if I want to include that on the podcast.
No, I know, but like, see, this is the problem when you include something as serious as rape in a story like this, is because it's so powerful. I feel like I've already said this, but like, you need to give something like this that much importance. I could see a more serious version of this narrative. I think it would be fascinating to see an exploitive B-grade action movie where the male hero is raped by the male villain, and then it actually deals with the fallout of what it's like to do that. And like, cause there's like rape revenge movies like I Spit on Your Grave or Coward of the County,
I was gonna say Death Wish, but yeah.
No, but like, the whole point of I Spit on Your Grave is like a woman is raped and then she comes back and kills her rapists, and it's all like, I'm getting the power back. Yeah, Day of the Woman. It would be interesting to see that kind of narrative and play with the idea of, like you say, the concept of emasculation and what it means to get your power back after something has been taken from you like that. This movie's not fucking interested in doing that, though. It's just trying to shock and titillate, and it doesn't really do either very well.
Yeah, we gotta get to the scene where Scorpion drives up behind one and gets him with the spinning drill in the butt, crashes into the side of a mountain, and that's the end of one.
That was some good symbolism there, Enzo. I got it.
Yeah.
I got what you were laying down.
Real subtle.
I can just say, all I can say is boo. But boo to you, sir. Also, for like being like the main villain of this movie, one gets a really dumb death.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like he just crashes into, I mean, yes, he gets anally penetrated himself with a big ass drill, but then he just crashes his car into a mountain, and that's seemingly the end of it, and that's also kind of the ending of the new Barbarians, frankly.
Yeah.
Can I just say, here's an observation. So George Eastman has now played 2 characters in these movies that are all about rape.
In the same year.
He directed a movie where a woman fucks a dog, and the other movie you mentioned, what does he do in that? He like eats a fetus or something? Yep. Maybe we shouldn't idolize this guy so much.
No.
Maybe he's kind of fucked up.
Mm-hmm. Maybe, yeah.
Maybe we've learned something, Jameson.
Yeah, kind of glad that there's only 3 in this collection here. Don't need to see the rest of this guy's filmography. I get it.
I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about here.
The music was interesting.
Music was okay, but there wasn't enough of it.
Yeah.
Like, the music in 2019, like, I'll just say it, like, of these 3 movies, my favorite is 2019, After the Fall of New York. I think that's the best looking movie. It's got the most atmosphere. I remember how scenes from that movie look. I will forget about the new Barbarians tomorrow, probably.
Probably for the best. No, this movie, it sounds bad. It looks fucking cheap as hell. It's got some pretty bad subject matter in it. I'm still gonna have to say that my favorite of the collection we've watched is still 1990 Bronx Warrior, and it's by the same director. I think because there's a campy element to it, and there's like a visible ineptitude with some of the filmmaking decisions in it and costume design choices that I think is funner to go back to. I do agree that After the Fall of New York is probably the best movie of this entire collection. That's the only one out of this collection that wasn't directed by Enzo G. Castellari, yes. So maybe that's a common point there. But fuck, we're talking about it right now. Would you recommend the new Barbarians?
You know what, Jameson? I don't think I will. There are two obvious better movies. If you're into this type of genre, if you're into like the Italian B-movie stuff, there are clearly better movies to watch than this. Movies that you and I have watched and movies that we haven't watched yet. And this hasn't soured my goal, I suppose, for lack of a better word, of ending every year on this podcast with an Italian B-movie. I'm sure we can find something suitably bonkers and insane to watch at the end of next year. But yeah, this one's a bit of a wash. There's better shit to watch than this stuff.
When you see a lot of these like futuristic-looking silver-painted dune buggies with weapons painted on the side of them, and they're driven by these guys in goofy costumes, you want to like the movie because this looks like it could be stupid, cheesy fun in a similar vein to Bronx Warrior, and it's just not.
Well, the good news though is that if you want to watch a movie where it's like kind of the post-apocalypse and people are driving in cars and everyone is wearing like weird outfits. Good news, go watch any of the Mad Max movies. Those all still exist.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say about New Barbarians is that Bronx Warrior and After the Fall of New York, they did a lot of cribbing from other movies. Other than scenes on the highway, which really resembled the first Mad Max, this movie isn't a direct copy of another movie. Like Bronx Warrior is very much Escape from New York and other tropey movies of the 80s from America. New Barbarians is kind of its own
thing.
They're
trying to do their own
It's just a shame that it's not all that interesting.
Yeah, so probably stick to the ripoffs. Well, funny you should mention, you want to try to end the year on Italian B-movies because I got a little surprise for you, Kaz. I have a new TV now, so when I was clearing some space for it and getting my new TV cabinet for it and everything, I did a little home cleaning and I came across this. It's a movie called Bronx Executioner. It's in one of those envelope things, and
so the quality's good.
I got it back when I first picked up Laser Mission, which is also presented in a birthday card format here. So we already got one ready for next year, and it has no Fred Williamson in it, and it has no George Eastman in it. This is completely new territory.
A breath of fresh air. We gotta do a month, Jameson, where we only do movies that show up in cardboard sleeves. Just to see what the quality is.
Or like wash up onto the shore of the beach or something. They just kind of will their way into our possession.
We were able to watch this movie because it was uploaded to YouTube, but I mean, the fact that we were referencing your box set of the 3 post-apocalypse DVDs made me like sweetly nostalgic for the days where we could hang out and watch like an actual movie on a DVD with like physical media. Now we just need to hope that it's on a streaming platform that both of us have.
Times they are changing, man.
It will probably continue to be that way until at least June or July. Fingers crossed, because this fucking year is wrapping up. We're not out of the woods yet. I get the appeal, people, to want to start, celebrating now because there's good news, there's a vaccine, there's a competent president entering the United States, but we're not out of the woods yet. If anything, winter is going to be hell for this virus. So we all need to stay the course, and then hopefully eventually in 2021 we will get to a point where we can get back into Podstream Studios. I'm itching to get back into Podstream Studios. I know Joel wants our business as well. We've managed to find a way to make this work, but the audio quality is just miles better over there than
as we've experienced, we've had our unique technical problems and difficulties that'll take us by surprise. Someone's audio will be a little too poppy. You say sometimes my camera makes me look like the Jolly Green Giant.
Dude, okay, we're talking over Zoom right now. I didn't want to say anything because it got old. You have been green for about 40 uninterrupted minutes. I don't know why. For some reason, when I talk to Jameson over Zoom, his entire screen just goes bright fucking neon green. You look like you're inside the Homer car from that movie that had the green tint as well. That is happening right now as I'm talking to you. It hasn't not been green for a while. I just want to tell you.
I'm green, da ba dee ba doo da.
Yo, listen! Jameson! Oh,
This is a
this
story
is a story
about a green thing.
a green guy. All right, Jameson, to close us off, because this is before New Year's Eve, but we're going to release this around New Year's Eve, with the spirit of one chapter closing. I know this has been a rough year, but what were the good things about 2020? What do you feel you accomplished this year that you can look back with fondness?
Well, professionally wise, I impressed the higher-ups enough at my work that they want me to, they're promoting me to an audio producer in the new year. So that is something I'm, very proud of the amount of work that I did, especially dealing with the COVID stuff on top of it. I legitimately am proud of that we have been able to continue to output episodes of this podcast and keep our, thank God we had, hobbies like this to keep us occupied when we...
Yeah.
I've made a lot of headway in that Bigfoot cartoon that I've been doing. And I guess, I say this every year around New Year's, but I often say that it's the relationships that I have with my friends and my family that really make me feel good about my life. I don't have any kids. I'm not married or whatsoever. It's the people in my life that I get a lot of comfort out of. Not to get super sappy or anything, but when you're a social butterfly like I am and you go months at a time without seeing people, you really start losing a bit of yourself during that. So in the moments where quarantine restrictions were eased a little and we could start hanging out again, it really, as I said, every year I always say a little thank you note to everyone on Facebook for, just for being a pal. Those were never real empty words. Those were not just sentiments for sentimental sake. But this year, it's got a whole new meaning for me. And I think this year I have a much deeper appreciation for what I do have.
Well said.
Choke it up here!
Last episode of the year, I think we're allowed to be a little sappy. There's been a real creeping sense of dread and existential ennui that I've been wrestling with a lot this year. A big thing for me, on top of, obviously, the pandemic happening, and is seeing the people who, for some reason, saw the restrictions being put in place as some sort of attack on their basic human rights. On top of that, we also had a huge step forward in the Black Lives Matter movement this year. And this year, I did a lot of wrestling with my own identity as a white man and what that means, and the history of racism and how it's ingrained in me even though I don't necessarily see myself as a racist person. So this was a big year where, for a good long part of it, and of course with the Black Lives Matter movement came people on the opposition, the people coming out. It just seemed there was a lot of time this year where we've never truly felt farther away from one another, both literally and socially and psychologically. Even despite the fact that we need to keep physical distance from each other, there's a social distance of the mind that we're keeping from one another, that's keeping us from embracing each other the way that we have to, so things don't turn out the way that they turned out in the new Barbarians. You like that? You like how I tied that all back together there? Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate that, yeah.
But you're quite right in the sense that this year has been a good reminder of appreciating the important things and appreciating the people in your life that matter to you. And certainly, while in a big picture sense it feels like we're moving away from each other, the people that really matter to us are closer than ever this year. I guess I don't really need to say any more than that. You want to recommend any movies or TV shows?
Well, like I mentioned, I got a new TV, so I finally got around to watching some very visually spectacle-y things that I've been putting off for a while. So I'm really late to the party with these recommendations, but I really loved Into the Spider-Verse. That is eye candy, the movie.
You opened up a can of worms, man, because anytime someone even mentions Into the Spider-Verse, all I want to do is talk for an hour about how great Into the Spider-Verse is.
Well, let me tamper those right now by also saying I also checked out Aquaman, which is also a very visually pleasing movie, and a good movie that I could recommend you to watch on mute. Because that is some of the worst dialogue I've ever heard in a mainstream movie.
Yes, but it does have Dolph Lundgren underwater riding a seahorse.
Absolutely.
So it balances out.
Yeah. And also, there's some visually cool stuff, too, like the part where they've got the flare and they're going to the darkest depths of the ocean. Another thing that I want to recommend, friend of the show, Kate, has recommended I check out Above and Beyond, is this DJ. And he does all these or he did all these big group orchestral live shows. He has this acoustic set that's free on YouTube It's great. I highly recommend Above and Beyond Group Therapy, and the acoustic version of it.
All right, there we go. Recommendation from past guest Kate Seth. Fantastic. Yeah, I'll throw in a couple of recommendations here. Last night I watched a really good movie that people have been telling me all year is good, but up until recently has only been available on Hulu, but it's finally on Amazon Prime. It's a movie called Palm Springs.
Oh, with Andy Samberg, right?
Yes. Have you heard about this movie?
I've heard it's like Groundhog Day, except there's
Yeah.
two people who are aware of the time.
That's kind of like the spoiler that's kind of out there in the ether. I knew that it was kind of like Groundhog Day going into it. What I will say is, do not learn anything more than that. Go in as blind as you can. This is one of the most enjoyable movies to not know anything about its story. It is so funny, and the way that it can flip from being hysterically absurd to one of the deepest ruminations about human existence, and it just does that on a dime, and it keeps doing that over and over again. I'm like, fuck, this is one of the deepest movies I've watched in a while. Holy shit. That movie's great. What else have I seen recently? If you're listening to this and you subscribe to Crave or HBO Max or whatever, I loved David Byrne's American Utopia, which was a filmed production of his touring Broadway show that he did that was directed by Spike Lee. I really got into David Byrne this year. I was kind of on the fence about Talking Heads for a while, but I'm a huge fan now. Like, I have just, like, devoured all things David Byrne this year. And this is a wonderful concert show. The hook of this show is that it's him and a diverse backup band of 12 musicians on the stage. No platforms, no sets, no chords. All of the instruments are, like, on their bodies. All of the drummers are, like, wearing their percussive instruments on their bodies. It's great. It's just pure joy from beginning to end. Yeah, American Utopia. I really love that. Let me throw one more in here, because this episode's gone on absurdly long. Oh, Netflix has a great movie called His House, which is a fantastic horror movie. Again, trying to go in as blind as possible on this, but it's about a couple of Sudanese refugees who move to a crappy little house in England, and it may be haunted. And that's all I'll say about that. That's one of the best horror movies of the year. It has a twist at the end that I did not see fucking coming, and it blew me away. That movie's great.
All right, cool. Well, that's been our fucking 2020 of the fuck is this? Yeah. Now, Kaz, can I just say one thing here? This year has been very difficult for us all. I'm sure.
For everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, undeniable.
Some have had it like worse off than others, even though it's not a fucking competition like that. But I would feel like from January on, like this whole grand comedy of life that we have for ourselves, it started really coming to a head. Do you know what also fucking started in January?
What's that?
When you started the sign-off phrase. We recorded our episode for Mr. Stitch back in January, and ever since then, the world has gone to shit. So I think, for the good of the planet, for the good of our humanity, and for the good of our friendship, you must officially retire sign-off phrases and start 2021 on a whole new chapter of how we can clear
a whole new chapter of new catchphrases. All right, great. In fact, I agree, Jameson. I agree with you 100%. It's gonna be all new catchphrases from me. I'm gonna have like 3 catchphrases per episode. I'm so glad that you gave me that idea, Jameson.
I knew I should have written this down.
You're a good partner, and you're a good. I was going to offer a compromise, actually, before you brought this up. I like my catchphrase.
I know you do, and I know you like the other one you came up with. Actually, early on, you suggested something, I think, during the Movie Out Here episode, where every episode ends with a sign-off phrase that sort of ties into the movie we just watched.
Oh, okay. Oh, you know what? Sure. That wasn't the compromise I was going to say, but you know what? I'm willing to work with that compromise. But that means, Jameson, that we need to, in like the next 2 minutes, come up with a new Barbarians themed sign-off. So, start thinking. We'll get to it. Thank you for listening to the episode. That was The New Barbarians, directed by Enzo G. Castellari. If you like the episode, please follow us on Instagram at the F is This Podcast. Follow us on our YouTube page if you're not already watching us on there. Stay peeled to our Twitter for new episodes at the F_is_this. And now, with our new catchphrase, with the last catchphrase of 2020, here's Jameson Rafter.
Bye.
Now wait a bit. Bye!
All right. You say Frosty
That's
Death,
actually
you
pretty
dogs.
good. Oh! Subterfuge!
That's my gift to you, buddy.